All right, so hey everybody, welcome back to our next Learning elisp video. And I think we're going to be able to polish off our function header routine. We already have pretty much all the tools we need to do this. And then we're going to move on to the next project. Just a word on timing. I've been trying to do these once a week roughly, but that might slow down after this one for the rest of September into October, or maybe there'll be the next project is going to be an emoji project. So you can type something like you can type, elephant, if I could type it, with colons around it, and it would replace that with the elephant emoji, that type of thing, because that's something that actually, well, it won't be useful for me anymore since, I'm not teaching anymore, but it would have been useful for me when I was creating like Slack type polls using emoji outside of Slack, and I would want to do it in Emacs and cut and paste it, but I never actually wrote that function. But that's going to be like a 3-4 week thing, and not the problem is I'm going to be away during the end of September, early October. My daughter is taking me on a little vacation. We're going to first spend a few days in Utrecht. Then we're going to go down to Brussels for a few days, then Antwerp, and then back then up to Amsterdam. And so I don't want to break up this little project in the middle of our trip. But incidentally, if you're familiar with those places and you have any off the beaten path but really cool, less touristy places to go that either an attraction or a little history thing or food or whatever, again, Utrecht, Brussels, Antwerp, Amsterdam, just drop me a line. So there may be a little bit of a break in videos, or maybe I'll just do a one-off before starting the next project. But anyway, for this one, we want to turn this into a function. So this core stuff down here, or actually, we don't need this line. Let's move this out of the way. But these are all things we're going to need. And in fact, we're going to want to turn these into a function, or put these within a function. So let's just make some edits here. Get rid of all of that. Let me again turn off Uni mode, because I just keep not doing that. But we're going to want to put this all into a function. So let's define a function. Let's call it function header, no parameters. It's going to be interactive. And then we're going to want to do a few things. The first thing we're going to want to do, we're going to want to go to the beginning of the line. We're going to set the mark at the point, and we've done this before, or similar to this before, and then we're going to go to the end of the line. The idea here is we might call this, like, let's say we're here and we want to run our function. We want to basically copy all of the text from here to here, which will be from the beginning of the line to the end of the line. So we need to have our mark and our point at those extremes, and of course there won't be these little comments here. So if we go to the beginning, set the mark, go to the end, so the mark will be at the beginning of the line and the point will be at the end. And we talked a little bit about that in an earlier video. And now let's set up some variables. So we're going to do a let star, and that's why I did all these cut and pastes in here, because all of these are just all of these are going to be part of our let form, which is going to be, we'll have our regular expression. That string match regex line, we have to work with a little bit. We're going to put, we're just going to get, we don't actually need this. We're just going to grab the index into that line. I don't think we're going to use it, but we'll have it. We could omit that if we wanted. We don't need that for the let form, for the let star form. We're going to get then the return value, the function name, and the parameters, all out of those matches. And we're going to do this all together with our let star. We do need one other thing in our let star, which is we also need to define our line. And our line is going to be, and we did this also in an earlier video, buffer substring no properties. using the function mark and point to pull out basically the line. So if we call this function when we're at a line like here, it's going to move to the beginning, go to the end with the mark and the point, and copy that full line into our into that variable called line. At which point we will be able to get all of our stuff. So what we're going to then do is we're going to then need a few more assignments. We're going to say, well, actually, let's first do this. Let's not do this. Let's just do a little. Let's just evaluate to the function name, and let's come up to here. Just a little test. Come to the end of the line, and we'll call function header. And I don't know if it did it or not. Let's print the function name. And we got add 2 out of that. So it did indeed give us the result we wanted, and it would do that for, we could do the same thing for the params, just for a little testing here. Int A, int B, so, so we're good. We know that we have the pieces. So now we can start putting together our function header. So why don't we just do this in a few variables? So the top of the header is going to be a new line, start our comment, and we'll do it Java doc style. And we'll just do this simply, and it'll be, P description, losing my keyboard, /P, new line, space star, and then we're going to want the name of the function and put in our placeholder for the format, as we know, and then a new line. Maybe we'll do a space star and then another new line, and or just one other new line there. And then our substitution is going to be the function name. So that's going to be the first part of our header. Let me see if I can move this over, make this a little bit wider. So that's going to be the first part of our header. The second part of our header is going to be, let's just say, format space star, because we had a new line from before. And why don't we just put in a string for now? We're going to have to fix this up for now. And then we're going to put in a new line, space star new line, just to space it out a little bit. And for this, the substitution will be the params. And yep, that'll be good for that. And then header 3 will be format. And we will just say, what should we say here? I think it's at return, and that's going to be %s, new line, another one there, a new line, and the actual closing of the comment. And the substitute there is going to be our return value, or ret val. And then finally, our header is going to be format 1, 2, 3 with a new line at the end. And I got to open my string here. And it's going to be header 1, header 2, and header 3. And then all we're going to do is we're not going to print it. We're going to insert the header. What insert does, and I don't know if we've done that one yet. It's easy enough to do. It literally inserts into wherever your point is the string into your document. So it throws it in. And now, incidentally, if you notice, when I executed this, it gave that equal greater nil because this returns nil. That's a mode called, I think it's Eros mode, which I just found. I read John Snyder's blog, Ariel, and it has lots of good Emacs stuff. Who referred to another blog on development tips, and this is like my favorite thing about Cider for Clojure is when you just execute a form, it just shows you the result right there in your buffer until you hit another key, and it's just like incredibly useful. We don't need any of this anymore. Just save this for now. So it was just a matter of installing that package and turning it on. But anyway, this hopefully will work for us. So let's evaluate this. And let's come here and we'll type in, it doesn't matter where we are on the line, function header, and bang. And it's not perfect. Notice that it inserted this after where we were, and that is a little bit of a problem. But we'll fix that. That won't be a problem. Actually, it's easy enough to fix. Why don't we get rid of this, clean it up? And the easiest way to fix this is probably just go to the beginning of the line here. So now if we're up here, we do function header, bang. And all of a sudden, we have a nice little function header in Java doc form. I guess it's a little bit off. We should probably have a star there with the space, and then we would replace description with the description, but you get the idea. The only thing that's really bad about this is this parameter part is not really what I want. If this is Java doc, I want it to be like @param int a, and then the next line @param int b. So I want that in multiple lines, and so let's do that. But we're closing in on this. We're almost there. So why don't we write a helper function? Why don't we call this function header param parse params, and it'll take as its argument the line with the params. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to basically split up that list of params into a list. So there's a function in elisp called string split, and we'll string split the line based on comma space. So this will be a little bit fragile if you don't have comma space between all of your parameters, but that's fine for the time being. And why don't we just do that so we can test this? Function header parse params, and we can have it int a, double d, and parse c. And if we run that, notice that it splits this into a list, which is a data structure that we're going to talk about when we do the emoji project. Int a, double d, char c. So the string split can do the initial parsing. But then the next thing you want to do is we're going to want to format each of those differently. So that's where we can use, like we used in an earlier video, map call. And we can use a lambda form, which I'm pretty sure we covered, but let me just mention it quickly here. We know we can define a function, let's say called square x, which would be times xx. So we can do square of 5. We can also write a nameless function, lambda x times xx, and if I run that, it'll return the function. But it's not named, but I can use it right in line. It's basically defining a throwaway nameless function. So we're going to make a really little function here, a nice little function here, throwaway, and it's just going to be like format And the format string is going to be the javadoc form. And the thing we're going to pass into that is the X that we get. And then what we're going to actually, the data is going to come from that string split line. So what this is going to do is string split line is going to turn our line into 3 items, int A, double D, char C. And then the map char is going to run that lambda function on int A, turn it into param int A, on double D, param double D, and then on the C. So let's run that, and we'll see. I got to re-evaluate this function. Looks like I messed this one up. Let's see. So we've got our map char format for that, string split for that. Oh, the lambda has to close there. Did I not close that right? Let's see. Okay, that's the lambda. Right, being stupid here. That has to close. No, that's right. The format gets the X. Then the lambda gets closed because X goes into the lambda. And then string split. So that should do that. And there we go. And our result, notice, is it's still a list, but each one has now been transformed into what should be the appropriate string. It just looks like it's, like it has that new line in it. That's why it looks kind of funky the way it's going. But now we've got to convert this back into our string. And that's really pretty easy. We can just do string join. And what string join does, so if we run this now, string join just basically takes all the items of a list that are each strings and joins them all together. So basically, we're just going to, for this guy here, instead of doing the params, we're going to say function header parse params of params, run our function, come up here. Didn't want to do, I just tried to execute that form, which I didn't want to do. And I just want to run function header. Looks like I messed something up in there. Looks like it's that, probably just that. Parse params with the argument params. Reevaluate that. And there we have it. And all of a sudden, we now, and okay, it's a little bit off there. It looks like I want to, before the params, I can take away that last new line. May have to play with this a little bit. I don't want to get that last blue line. Let's stop after this new line. I'm not going to twiddle with this too much here because it's kind of silly. It's just a matter of where you put new lines and stuff. So what we're doing here is, the header line 1 ends in a new line. Then I'm getting, oh, right, okay. I don't want to put the stuff in there before all those guys. So now if I do this, and again, I can be anywhere here, much better. I might want to put that new line back before the parameters. It's bothering me. And we just have 1 or 2 more things to do on this. There we go. And I probably am going to get rid of, for the params, I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm not going to test this one now. But anyway, we're almost done with this. The only are a couple of things. One is you'll notice that when I run this, wherever I am, it works, but it's always leading me back at the beginning of the function. And you're going to have to make a decision. Where do you want this to be? You could reposition the function to the beginning of description, like, you know, like, oh, I want to edit the description. You know, so what you could do is you could do after the insert header, you could do something like search backwards, you know, descript, whatever. Let's see what that, whoops, run that, and then I could, and then it brings me back to description, and then I can start typing there. You know, or maybe I want to be at the parameter point. So you'll want to make a decision as to where you want to jump back. But the other thing you might want to do is you might not want to jump at all. You might want the cursor to end up back where it was. And so for that, I want to show one other very, very quick Emacs call, which is save excursion. And what save excursion does is it saves basically, well, I mean, I'll bring up the documentation, but it saves your location essentially. It saves the point and the current buffer, and then it does your function, and then at the end of it, it restores the point. I'm also going to do a key map global set meta C, and that'll be function bind it to alt C. Now, I wouldn't really do this in real code because I'm just making it alt C everywhere, and this is only really useful for C style functions or C, Java, etc. But where I would really do this within certain modes, like in C mode, but we're going to talk about making a mode for the next couple of projects, and so we'll do that there. But here, and we're going to get rid of this because we no longer want to search for description. We just want to basically restore to where we were. So now wherever we are, oh, we're in our function, we wrote it, Alt C, and bang, we get our description line. Or maybe I'm here, I'm on the same line, Alt C, and I get my function header. And when I originally wrote this, my function header looked very different. And we can clean this up just a little bit. Put the comment back in. We don't need that anymore. Save this. And we don't really need, we don't need that. That's a little test as well. And I'm also, just in case you end up just loading this code, commenting this out so it doesn't rebind a key on you. But that's it, and we can make the function header look whatever we want, and you know, it's pretty straightforward code. And this was one of the first real little elisp functions I ever wrote that I got a lot of use out of over the years, and I stopped using it at some point. But that's it for this project. So anyway, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoy it. Everything is going to be, you know, on GitLab, and I'll put the video up, and I'll put the matching blog post. Again, I may slow down until mid-October, or there might just be one more one-off video beforehand because of the trip, but you know, then we'll continue with that emoji project. And the other project that I have in mind right now is something to call an API. I'm going to do a little thesaurus thing, look up a synonyms for words. The one-off might be with sending email, because that's something that I'm doing, I'm playing with now that I don't have work email, just a personal email, working on having Emacs send emails in a programmatic way. But yeah, that might be the next one, we'll see. All right, so hope you all enjoy.